Hey, Bill, what day is it?
Hey gang, welcome back to Hey Bill, what day is it? This week we're celebrating a national day that I'll bet you never thought of. And Eileen, you're really close, but no cigar on that opening illustration. It's not National Abstract Day. Try again. Now, while you rethink our illustrations, I have a special message for all my viewers. This week marks the first anniversary of Hey Bill, what day is it? That's right, we've been doing this for a whole year. A year ago this week, we kicked off the crazy ride by celebrating Mickey Mouse's birthday. There's a link to it in the card up above here, and there's a link also down in the notes below. Back then, we posted on every Wednesday, and the shows lasted about 5 or 6 minutes. Since many of the really good national days didn't fall on a Wednesday, we decided to post all new videos on Sunday for a national day that fell during that week. It makes things much easier to be able to pick a day from any national day that week. And since so many of the days were really interesting, we expanded the show out to 10 to 15 minutes long. Another important reason for the change is that we were enjoying doing it so much. There were a lot of ups and downs at first, and we had to learn by trial and error what our grandson could probably do in his sleep. But we wanted to offer something a little different. A little entertainment, a little education, a little encouragement. If you're interested in what some of our other shows were, you can go to YouTube and type Bill Wisore into the search bar and look at our playlist. You'll have 52 different episodes to choose from. Go look over a few and please subscribe by clicking on the subscribe button below or the little icon in the right corner of this video. That way you'll be notified when a new episode comes out. Well, I see Eileen realized this isn't the week we celebrate National Abstract Day. It's National Absurdity Day. After looking over some of our past episodes, you'll have to agree that celebrating National Absurdity Day is right up our alley. My wife and I both really enjoy being absurd, and I think you'll soon see that at least one of us came by it naturally. Lots of people have used the expression that something or someone is absurd, but what do they really mean? One person's absurd behavior might be another person's self-expression. So what exactly are we celebrating today? Let's check it out. According to the dictionary, absurdity is being completely unreasonable and inappropriate. Another way of putting it is it's the quality or state of being ridiculous. When I think of someone who was totally absurd, I immediately think of my mother-in-law, Doreen, and my wife agrees totally. As a matter of fact, she helped me pick this day so she could showcase some of her mom's absurdities. But to look at this picture of her, you have to ask how such a beautiful 90-year-old woman could be an example of absurdity. Well, according to Eileen, most of her life she thought her mother was quite normal. She was a campfire girl leader, active in church, directed the choir, led the youth, managed the family business, and was always there to be a helping hand when needed. But there were clues, like when she and her husband Roy would get dressed up on Halloween and drive around to the older people in the church, most of whom were afraid to let her in the house. But once someone did, Roy would get out of the car and bring in a thermos of hot cocoa and a dozen donuts. And yes, she did have a bunny costume, but it was pink. Doreen loved costumes and had plenty. She wore them to parties, to the young at heart meetings at church, to the beauty shop, any place she thought she could get away with it. If Eileen would say no, which never went over very well, she would find at least some way to express her own absurd personality. Yes, to some people she was absurd and ridiculous, but to everyone she was a friend. In a way, in today's world, where smiling and talking to strangers is considered absurd, where so many people are afraid to enjoy life with the randomness that's their own, Mom would have had this to say: Life is a journey, not a destination. Enjoy it and arrive at the gates of heaven saying, "Thank you, God, what a ride." Now, don't for one moment think my mother-in-law was mentally unstable. No, she was a loving, caring, giving person up until she passed at age 93. Among the many things that she taught us is that being absurd is not always bad. She used to tell Eileen to let her inner character come out. I think my wife learned her lesson well. Not everyone uses the same definition of absurdity. For example, Wikipedia describes absurdity as follows. Absurdity derives from the Latin absurdum, meaning out of tune, hence irrational. The Latin surdus means deaf, implying stupidity. Absurdity is contrasted with seriousness in reasoning. In general usage, absurdity may be synonymous with ridiculousness and nonsense. In specialized usage, absurdity is related to extremes in bad reasoning. Now that we completely understand the meaning, let's look at some other examples of irrational, stupid, ridiculous, bad reasoning. In other words, absurdity. There just aren't words to explain some of these examples. So here are some pictures that will explain it a little bit better. Just how much will a ladder hold? Yeah. How about this one? Perhaps he needs a professional arborist. Yep. So that's where plumber's crack came from. Yep. Even this lion can't believe it. Stay away from home remedies for hemorrhoids. Yeah. Maybe after looking at some of these, we do need some help. Local, state, and even on occasion the federal government has stepped in to help us. If you look at some of the laws that have been enacted across the country, you will find excellent examples of absurdity. For instance, one law in the state of New Mexico prohibits idiots as well as insane persons convicted of a felonious or infamous crime from voting. To our knowledge, this crazy law isn't enforced anywhere. How could they enforce it? It would completely eliminate one of our political parties. In Oregon, it's illegal to go hunting in a cemetery. Most people bring flowers to a cemetery, but apparently some brought guns back in the day. This became illegal in the Beaver State after a hunter was charged with harvesting an animal on cemetery grounds. I'm not sure why they'd bring a gun since everything in a cemetery is already dead. In South Dakota, it's illegal to sleep in a cheese factory. Yep. Apparently, this was outlawed with the same logic behind not falling asleep at the wheel. It's not the wisest idea to be operating large machinery while dozing off. However, if the cheese is packaged, you're in the clear to work around the clock. Here's one jaw-dropping law for you. In Vermont, it's technically mandatory for women to get written permission from their husbands if they want to opt for false teeth. Better let your hubby know if you're eyeing those shiny veneers. In North Carolina, drunk bingo is unlawful. Apparently, it's illegal in North Carolina to sell or consume any alcoholic beverage in a room while a bingo game is being played. In New York, slippers are banned after 10 p.m. In Montana, it's illegal to give a rat as a present. In Missouri, bear wrestling is banned. We all love a good bear hug now and then, but the real deal is outlawed in Missouri. In Massachusetts, it's illegal to tell fortunes without certification. In Louisiana, it's illegal to send a surprise pizza. In Kentucky, a woman cannot marry the same man 4 times. In Hawaii, it's illegal to place a coin in one's ear. Magic shows must be pretty boring in the Rainbow State. In Florida, legal parking fees toward animals must be paid. In Delaware, residents are barred from selling the hair of a dog or cat. We're not entirely sure how this bizarre law came about, But according to California.com, the city of Berkeley, California prohibits anyone from whistling for their lost canary before the wee hours of 7 a.m. In Arkansas, you can't honk your horn near a sandwich shop after 9 p.m. In Arizona, it's illegal for a donkey to sleep in a bathtub. And in Alabama, it's illegal to drive blindfolded. Enough with the goofy laws. Have you seen any of the advice we get printed in instructions these days? Here's one that was actually printed on a Subway sandwich wrapper. Yep. No wonder I thought their food tasted funny. I once read the instructions in a user's manual for a computer monitor. It said, please remember to blink your eyes periodically to prevent your eyes from drying out. That one was tough. My car's user's manual advises me not to drink the contents of the battery. But I was so thirsty. A lot of things that some call absurd are what others call miracles. For instance, the Bible tells us that a teenage shepherd boy with a slingshot went up against a fully armed 9-foot giant and won. How about when Jesus sat over 5,000 people down on a hillside and fed them all as much as they could eat with just 5 loaves and 2 small fish? One time Jesus walked up to an open tomb and called inside, Lazarus, come out. And out he stepped, still wrapped in his grave clothes. And then there was the most absurd thing that ever happened in the history of man. The miracle of all miracles, Jesus himself was crucified and buried and put in a sealed tomb. But through his own power, he rose from the dead to return to his Father in heaven and make a place for all of us to be with him. I'm Bill Wasore, and this is Hey Bill, What Day Is It? Not everything that sounds crazy or improbable is absurd. Sometimes they're just miracles. Have a triumphant day.